I was holding my sister's positive pregnancy test, and right then, it hit me. My fiancé was the only person who had been alone with her for the past 3 months. I did not scream. I did not cry. I placed the test back exactly where I found it. I walked into the living room, and I smiled. What happened next changed my life forever, just not in the way you might think. My name is Clara. I was 29 years old. I had just gotten engaged. I was deep in wedding planning. Venues, flowers, seating charts, the kind of details that feel so important when you still believe life is moving exactly the way you planned. My fiancé Daniel was the kind of man mothers mean when they say, find someone who respects you. Steady, thoughtful, reliable. He remembered birthdays. He made coffee before I asked. He fixed things around the house without turning it into a performance. He was safe. And when you grow up in a family where emotions were either too loud or completely absent, safe feels like love. My sister Leah was 2 years younger than me. We were not the kind of sisters who tell each other everything. We were the kind who survived Christmas together and smiled the whole time. That was us. Polite, functional, careful. There was love there, I think, but it was buried under years of comparison. She was the emotional one. I was the responsible one. She disappeared when life got hard. I made lists. Daniel liked her. Maybe too much, I sometimes thought. Not in an obvious way. Nothing dramatic, just small things. He noticed when she got quiet. He defended her when my mother made sharp little comments. He always seemed to understand her moods faster than I did. And every now and then, something inside me would whisper, "That is strange." But I always pushed that thought away. I was not the jealous type, or at least I did not want to be. In the 3 months before that day, I had started a new job. It was demanding. New team, longer hours, the kind of job where proving yourself quietly becomes your entire personality. I was working late almost every night. Sometimes I came home after 9 and Daniel had already made dinner. Sometimes Leah was there too. Sometimes they were already sitting together at the kitchen table, talking softly, like I had walked into the middle of a conversation that had started long before I arrived. Daniel had been driving Leah to appointments. Back problems, he said. She had a pinched nerve. She hated driving in pain. He was just being helpful. That was Daniel, helpful. I never asked any questions. I found the test on a Tuesday evening. I had come home early. A headache, the kind that makes light feel aggressive. Leah was staying with us while she looked for her own apartment. Temporarily, we kept saying. Temporary is a dangerous word. It makes people stop asking how long. I was looking for ibuprofen in the bathroom. I opened the wrong cabinet, and there it was, behind her deodorant, leaning against the back wall, like she had hidden it, but not well enough. I remember the silence, not the peaceful kind, the kind where your brain receives something and refuses to process it. 2 lines, clear, certain, unapologetic. And then the math came automatically, like a reflex I did not choose. 3 months, Daniel, only Daniel. I stood there longer than I should have, holding that little piece of plastic like it was evidence in a trial I had not agreed to be part of. I thought about every late night, every appointment, every quiet moment I had ignored because trusting someone is easier than questioning them. I placed the test back, exactly where I found it. I walked into the living room. Daniel was refilling her tea. They were laughing at something on television. Normal, casual, domestic. The kind of scene that would look beautiful in a photo and devastating in hindsight. I sat down next to them, and I thought one thing. I know something you do not know I know. I was not going to say anything, not yet. First, I needed the truth. I started paying close attention, not paranoid, precise. I watched the way Daniel looked at Leah. I searched for glances that lasted too long, touches that lingered, silences that meant too much. I found nothing, which somehow made it worse, because if there had been obvious betrayal, I could have hated them cleanly. Instead, there was ambiguity. And ambiguity is where your mind becomes cruel. What I found instead was Leah crying at night, softly, behind the bathroom door. The kind of crying people do when they are trying not to be heard. Daniel sleeping soundly next to me, like a man with nothing to hide. I found that Leah had almost stopped eating. She pushed food around her plate, said she was tired, said she was fine. She pulled back from everything. When I looked at her directly, she looked away, not like someone who felt guilty. And then I saw a name saved in her phone. She did not hide it fast enough when I walked in. Jonas. A name I had never heard before. I asked casually, "Who is Jonas?" Too casually. She said no one, which told me immediately that he was someone. I searched for him online. Nothing. I checked Daniel's phone. He sometimes left it on the kitchen counter while showering. No messages from Leah, no suspicious numbers, nothing. I hated myself for doing it, and I hated that I still felt justified. I did not understand what I was looking for, until I stopped looking for the wrong thing. On the third day, I asked Leah directly, not about the test, about Jonas. The look on her face, I will never forget it. She went white, not pale, white, like the color left her body all at once, like fear had reached up and taken hold of her throat. And then she said something that destroyed the story I had built inside my head. "How do you know about Jonas?" "Who is Jonas?" I said. A long pause, the kind that changes lives. "He is the father." I needed a moment with that. "And Daniel?" I asked. She looked at me like I had asked something impossible. What does Daniel have to do with any of this? And just like that, the entire structure of my certainty collapsed. Over the next few hours, I learned everything. Jonas was a man Leah had been seeing for almost a year. She had kept it secret from everyone, because Jonas was married, because she was ashamed, because some mistakes are easier to continue than to explain. The appointments Daniel drove her to, they were real, just not for a pinched nerve. Ultrasounds. Daniel had known for weeks. He had promised Leah to keep it quiet, because she was not ready, because she was terrified, because she did not know how to tell me without watching me look at her differently forever. He was protecting her. My fiancé had been protecting my sister from me, in silence. I sat on the edge of her bed, and the image I had built over 3 days collapsed. The betrayal, the lies, the worst-case story on loop in my head. Gone. I had been so certain. I had been so wrong. And somehow, that did not feel like relief. It felt like shame. Because suspicion changes the way you look at people, even after the truth arrives. Daniel came home that evening. He saw immediately that something had shifted. Maybe it was my face. Maybe guilt has a smell. I told him everything. The test, the 3 days, what I had assumed. He listened, did not interrupt, did not defend himself. And then he said it. "I am glad you know, because there is something else I need to tell you." It was not an affair. It was a decision he had made a year earlier, one he had never told me about. He had been Leah's person for a long time, not just these past weeks, years, during a part of her life I knew almost nothing about. Leah had gone through a severe depression, not sadness, not a bad month, the kind of depression where getting out of bed feels like lifting a building. She could barely function. She had asked him for help because she did not want me to know. She was afraid I would turn it into something to solve. She did not want solutions. She wanted someone to sit in the dark with her and not ask her to explain it. Daniel had done that, quietly, consistently, without needing credit. "I never betrayed you," he said, "but I kept a part of my life from you, and you deserve to know." That sentence stayed with me. Not the test, not Jonas, not even the pregnancy. That. Because love is not only about loyalty. Sometimes it is about transparency. And sometimes people can protect you and hurt you at the same time. I married him anyway. People always ask that like it was some dramatic decision. It was not. It was quiet. I loved him. He loved me. And sometimes adulthood is realizing love and hurt are not opposites. But I never trusted Leah the same way again. Not because of Jonas, not because of the pregnancy, because that day I learned something I still have not fully made peace with. The people we think we know best carry rooms inside themselves we have never been invited into. Sometimes that is their right, and sometimes it quietly breaks something anyway. Leah never ended up with Jonas. He stayed with his wife. Predictable, really. Men like that almost always do. Leah's daughter is 4 years old now. Her name is Mia. She has Leah's eyes and Daniel's stubbornness somehow. She calls him Uncle Danny. And me, I am still learning to tell the difference between a secret that protects someone and a secret that just leaves you out. I am not sure that ever gets easier. Maybe it is not supposed to. Maybe trust is not about knowing everything. Maybe it is about deciding what you can survive not knowing. I still think about that bathroom sometimes, that cabinet, that test, the woman I was before I opened it, and the woman after. They are not the same person. If you have ever been completely certain about something and turned out to be completely wrong, leave it in the comments. You are not alone in that. And if stories like this one stay with you, subscribe. A new story every week. I will see you next time.